Hello, this is Angel Krause, and this is a quick review of the 7-step process for designing your performance task. This PowerPoint and this recording are both uploaded in the online module, and they will help guide your work during this week's online assignments which are required. So in our previous class session, we were able to begin on your draft of your Stage 2, which is looking at the evidence and the assessments that you will use in your Understanding by Design unit. And we began to look at a 7-step process in designing your performance task. During class time, you were given some independent work time in order to begin this process, in which step 1 was to consider the needed evidence. So if you want your students to understand certain enduring understandings or grapple with different essential questions, what type of evidence would you want to collect in order to demonstrate that they have arrived at an understanding or they are beginning to understand some of the questions that you're posing? Step 2 was to brainstorm evidence of the 6 facets of understanding. To try to get an idea of your unit. Will it have empathy? Will it have application? What are some natural items that you can collect in regards to the 6 facets of understanding? Step 3, we began to write our task using the GRAPHS acronym, so your goal, your role, your audience. And then step 4 was to complete the performance or assessment task blueprint. So those were items that we did get started in on class, but you may not have finished each and every one of them. So in steps 1, we were guided to look at how our evidence that we collect needs to really align with our enduring understandings, the knowledge that we have listed, and also our skills. And there's an alignment chart that was handed out in a packet during class that you can use. During step 2, again, you used a few handouts from the workbook in order to begin to brainstorm using the 6 facets. And this is just a reminder that while you are looking at your performance task specifically, you will be collecting other evidence. So your performance task will include some of the enduring understandings, knowledge, and skills from your unit, but it does not have to include all of it, because your other evidence will round out your assessment evidence as a whole to get that big picture of your students' learning. So the performance test will include some of your enduring understandings, but not all, some of your knowledge and some of your skills. But again, it's the major assessment in your module. Step 3, we started looking at how you could write a performance task, which includes a goal, a role, audience, a situation, a product, performance, or purpose, and then beginning to think about what standards or criteria would you use to help the students gain success. And again, the workbook pages were handed out in a stapled packet, and then they can also be found in Moodle in the Understanding by Design workbook folder. Step 4 is where a lot of people were still working on and getting closer to finish, and that is the assessment task blueprint. So this blueprint will help you flesh out the performance task components. It will make sure that it does align with your Stage 1 desired outcomes. And this blueprint will be handed in as a part of your Stage 2 draft. So for many, the steps 1 through 4 were completed or nearly completed in our last session. And so what we are moving into now is the work in progress of steps 5, 6, and 7. And so after you have completed the assessment task blueprint, which includes a total of 5 different areas that you're going to be completing, you'll move into step 5, step 6, step 7 of the performance task, which will result in your stage 2 draft and also a performance task rubric draft. So in step 5, we're going to be checking for validity and for alignment. And so we want to refer a little bit to your book for this section, and you'll be reading chapter 8 in between step 5 and step 6. So uploaded in Moodle, there are some workbook pages 177 through 179, that will allow you to check for validity. So there's an example of a task blueprint template that does not show proper alignment. And then there's an analysis of why it does not show alignment, and then the revised assessment task blueprint. And I suggest that you do look over these, because as I provide feedback on your assessment task blueprint, I will be using kind of this process. I'll take a look at how do your products line up with what your desired outcomes are and the enduring understandings, knowledge, and skills of your stage 1. Additionally, I would suggest that you want to complete the self-test assessment, which is workbook page 180, and that's going to ask you questions which are very similar. Can a student do well on the assessment but not actually have an understanding of the knowledge that you are working with on that? So that's step 5. Neither one of these need to be submitted, but these are just steps to check that your task blueprint is fully aligned and is actually measuring what you want to from your stage 1 draft. Before you move on to step 6, I ask that you go ahead and work with chapter 8, which looks at criteria and validity, and you want to be able to read this chapter and submit the assignment in Moodle for chapter 8. So it is a pretty open-ended assignment that you can choose whatever format you want to answer the prompt. But please go ahead and in between step 5 and step 6, you want to go ahead and go read chapter 8 and complete the form that's posted in Moodle. So the 6th step of creating your performance task is to look at the criteria that you're going to use to help evaluate your students. And the textbook, again, will help you a little bit, so that's why you want to do this step after you read chapter 8. And you're going to find that your criteria are actually going to be related to each other but independent. You don't want them dependent on each other, because then those will be too heavily weighted in your rubric. So you're going to create a list of 3 to 5 criteria for your performance assessment tasks. Those 3 to 5 criteria would be typically on the far left side of your rubric. And you'll just want to make sure that they, again, are aligning with your understandings desired, and if there's a clear connection. So if 2/3 of your rubric is talking about proper formatting and grammar, but yet that is not an enduring understanding of your unit, then you would want to realign your criteria that you're requiring. So the last step is to develop a scoring rubric. And in order to do this, you want to definitely make sure that you understand Wiggins and McTighe's understanding of rubrics, the strengths and weaknesses of each type of rubric. That's holistic and analytic. And then make sure that you use the analytic, which is suggested by Wiggins and McTighe. There is a little link here for future readings. Holistic, analytic, and then also single point rubrics. Wiggins and McTighe's work does not address single point rubrics, but I think it's a good concept to kind of know and understand. So as you are creating your rubric, you're really looking at by what criteria should I judge the student's performance, and then also where should we look and what should we look for to judge performance success. So how do you come to know whether the students have met your standards and expectations for the assignment? So there are examples posted in the course, workbook pages 183, 188, 89 to 90, and then 191. And there's also a quick link here about 3 good tools for creating rubrics. The probably most well-known one on there is Rubistar, but there's also a Google app if you are using the Google Suite. And again, those are workbook pages are located in Moodle. So as a part of your unit stage 2 draft, you're going to submit 3 items. You're going to submit your assessment task blueprint that has gone through the different stages in this presentation as far as checking for alignment and just validity and criteria. And then you're going to create your performance task rubric draft, and then also your stage 2 draft, which will be continued as a part of your stage 1. If you have any questions as you work on this, please let me know. Again, this week you have already completed or almost completed steps 1 through 4. Now you're going to head into step 5, reading chapter 8, and then 6 and 7 to round out the rest of the module. All right, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'm looking forward to looking at your stage 2 drafts in the upcoming weeks. All right, have a great day.